It's the day of the national championship game from down in Miami, Florida, as the Hurricanes welcome in this year's Cinderella story, the greatest Cinderella story in college football in better part of 50 years, the Indiana Hoosiers for the 2026 national championship. We're going to talk about it next from a narrative perspective and what one thing you need to be watching in the first quarter that will determine who will win the national championship. Next, here on the College Huddle. Welcome into the College Huddle. You're sliding into home base, 87 independent podcast from coast to coast, right here on the College Huddle. And this is the YouTube channel for the College Huddle. We invite you to please go ahead and hit that like button if you don't mind. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, let us know what you think about what we think down in the comments section below. Please feel free to check out our website, thecollegehuddle.com, where you can find those 87 independent podcasts from coast to coast, one of which might be from your favorite team, your favorite school. We've got Indiana covered. We've got Miami covered over on the College Huddle. All right, guys, let's get into tonight's game there from the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida, home of the 2026 National Championship game. Home game for the Miami Hurricanes. Will it even make a difference? Well, at least they'll have some fans that'll show up for this one, you would think, at least, right? Can you imagine playing in your home stadium and the visiting team takes it over from you? Well, that's what some people might be a little afraid of. I haven't heard that, but I think it might be a pretty good split between Miami fans and Indiana fans. The Hoosier fans traveled incredibly well in their last two bowl games. Man, they took over the Rose Bowl. They took over Atlanta. They were ready to go, rock and rolling, excited for the opportunity to play for a national championship, and they've got that today. So the one little thing that you need to be watching that will determine who will win this football game, it's really simple. If the Indiana offensive line can win the line of scrimmage and give Fernando Mendoza time to orchestrate his magic on the offensive side of the football for the Hoosiers, Indiana wins this football game. Miami has to win the line of scrimmage against the Hoosiers if they have any chance of winning this football game. They have to dominate like they did Ohio State. They have to dominate like they did Texas A&M. They are going to need to play that style of game against Indiana. The Hoosiers just don't beat themselves. And I'm sorry, Mendoza is a massive upgrade from Carson Beck. Carson Beck, who's played very well during this college football playoff run for the Hurricanes, you're just kind of wondering in the back of your head, you've got to wonder, will this be the game that Carson Beck does Carson Beck like things, turns the football over, puts their defense in bad positions because of his level of play? You have to wonder, will this be the game that he Louisvilles himself? And if that's the case, Indiana is going to steamroll this thing. It is going to be an absolute walk in the park for the Hurricanes, or excuse me, for the Hoosiers, if indeed that happens. But if Carson Beck plays clean, plays within himself, and that defensive line for Miami can dominate the Indiana offensive line and make life miserable for Carson Mendoza, the Canes are going to be in this thing, and they can win this thing. So that is, to me, the one little thing you need to watch. Watch the line of scrimmage when Indiana has the football. That'll determine, in my mind, how the outcome of this game is going to be played. Now, let's talk about narratives. Let's talk Miami first, shall we? They're the home team here. Mario Cristobal has done a phenomenal job of bringing back some swagger back to the U. No doubt about it. They make it to a college football playoff by winning the national argument that the head to head against Notre Dame was worth them getting in. Shout out to the rest of the ACC for sucking, because that's how you also got in, Miami. And because of those two things, they have taken advantage of those opportunities. Going into Texas A&M, beating them, taking down the last year's national champion, Ohio State. Then the last gasp for the SEC, the media darlings, Ole Miss. Yep, not gonna win today, boys. Miami's gone on that 3-game winning streak here, similar to what Ohio State did last year, and now Miami is looking at saying, "Hey, we're a 10th seed team here that can win a national championship." If they do that, then I think you have to officially say the U is back. Now, if they lose this game, some are still going to make the argument that the U is back. But just getting to this point, although albeit is very impressive nonetheless, and should be celebrated by all Canes fans, that is not what Hurricane football is about. Hurricane football is just not about getting there. Hurricane football is about winning it all. That is who they are. And if the Canes are going to be quote unquote back, they need to win this football game. A lot more people in Miami who are fans of this team, who have followed this team for decades, will tell you that's when we're back, when we get a national championship. So Mario Cristobal can do exactly that tonight. The Canes can be all the way back, not just kind of back, but all the way back with a national championship win in their home stadium tonight. Flipping to the other side of the field, there's a couple narratives, a couple storylines that are going to be really interesting to follow if this guy wins. Number one, I love this picture. Doesn't look like he's going Slayer. Something like that in this picture. I love this. Kurt Signetti, you are Cinderella. No doubt about it. You've been wearing the glass slipper. No doubt about it. Will the pumpkin, will the carriage turn into the pumpkin in Miami tonight? Will the Cinderella story finally come to an end right here on the 11th hour at 11:59, right before it strikes midnight? Will the Cinderella story finally come to an end? Or are you going to go all the way? And if you go all the way, which a lot of people expect you to do, this is without a shadow of a doubt the greatest underdog story in college football in my lifetime from a team perspective, from a school perspective. Sure, there have been plenty of individual underdog stories that have been great and they've made movies about them. Disney loves those, right? This would be the greatest underdog team story in the history of college football in my lifetime. And there's no doubting that. And there's nothing you can do to argue against it because that would be absolutely 100% factual. That is true, if indeed that happens. So is the U all the way back, or does Cinderella become the princess tonight? Like those are the two team storylines. Kurt Signetti bringing that into perspective. From a conference standpoint, however, from a conference standpoint, after the better part of 2 decades of dominating college football, the SEC will have to officially admit tonight, if Indiana wins, that the Big Ten is indeed the best conference in college football. Sure, there are a couple talking heads out there who are going to try to spin a narrative that the SEC is still better and somehow that them not even getting to a college football national championship game in the last 3 years is proof that they're just so much better. But that argument absolutely is hollow. It is empty. It falls on deaf ears. outside of the 5 states in the South that worship the SEC, the Big Ten has taken you over. And if you win tonight, Indiana wins tonight, there's not an argument. Michigan, Ohio State, and now Indiana, 3 consecutive Big Ten championship wins. And this isn't just Alabama, Georgia, Georgia, Alabama, Alabama, Georgia, 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 Alabama, Alabama. Oh, LSU, Alabama again for the next 3. Like, no, 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 no. This is 3 different schools in the Big Ten who are going to win this. And if you would have told me, hey, Eric, a Big Ten school is going to win again, and it's not Michigan, and it's not Ohio State, I probably would have said, oh, Oregon gets back, huh? Oregon's going to win their first. Or, man, USC really did take that big of a step. Or, my goodness, everybody was right. Penn State was the team to beat again. But no, it's Indiana. No one saw that coming, even in Big Ten country, outside of those in Bloomington who root for the Hoosiers. And that's exactly what could happen tonight. So from a conference standpoint, when the conference commissioners meet to talk about the CFP and the future of the CFP, all of a sudden the Big Ten will be the big dog at the table, not the SEC. And how will that affect the Big 12, the ACC, and the group of 6 beyond the Power 4? Those are going to be some interesting conversations to have in the coming months. And if Miami happens to win, how does that affect or change the ACC and the conference realignment story that has been swirling the past couple years? That is also incredibly interesting and something to watch tonight, as Miami and Indiana do battle for the national championship there at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more college football content right here on the College Huddle.